From ContainerDays Hamburg, this video is proudly presented by DAX IT.
Yeah, welcome. So my talk is going to be about DevOps, the principles behind DevOps, how we apply them at Hermes, how DevOps was invented like 10 years ago, what the idea was, and how it developed ever since. So what's still valid, what's changed maybe. First of all, a short introduction. So at least every one of you from Germany should know Hermes. We are the number 2 in B2C parcel delivery in Germany. And this peak, we will deliver up to 2.5 million parcels per day to your doorsteps. And we're not only delivering to the doorsteps, we have a network of parcel shops as well, like 17,000. So it's a huge network. There's a lot of data that needs to be processed, a lot of innovation going on, a lot of things to do for us. About me, I'm with Hermes now for 14 years. At Hermes, I'm responsible for the custom IT. So everything we do for private customers as well as for commercial or corporate clients is within my area of responsibility. So 16 teams in total, 85 people are trying to make the digital experience with Hermes better each day. But when we started, like 10 years ago, it was a quite different story. This was the starting point of our journey. So our organization was function-oriented, so like a planning team, a dev team, a test team, an ops team, and underlying governance functions. So basically a plan, build, run model we had back then, pretty classic one. And this model is fine, so it allows for optimizing each function. But it makes it really difficult to achieve innovation, because another picture of this organization would be that. So you have a set of walled gardens, you have little communications between the different parties, and if an artifact is ready, you just throw it over the fence and hope that someone on the other side picks it up. So why did that model fail? I already told a bit about that. So plan, build, run is a very simple model, so it's pretty efficient. You have pretty easy bodies of control you can apply to this model in terms of organization. And flow and process optimization was not the goal of this model. It's more a control-based model. And it gets pretty clear with this fence metaphor that these handovers are killing productivity. So every handover requires tedious work to throw it, tedious work to pick it up, and in the end you have no ownership. So in every garden you have a distinct ownership, so in the end you have no ownership at all. And velocity was an illusion. So you could do Scrum in this model. Of course you can do Scrum everywhere, but it's more a Scrum waterfall model. So big batches, because what you would do in this model, you would not do handovers too often because they are so tedious. So you would have big batches of work. You would collect as much work as possible before throwing it over the fence, which makes the burden even more on the other side of the fence, and it makes it even slower. So what did we do? Like probably a lot of you did, we wanted to move faster. But then we thought, is it really about moving faster? Or isn't it rather about creating better processes? And that's the path that we took, obviously, then. And doing DevOps or being agile was not the goal that we had. They were just the principles that we adopted. So the DevOps principles are a very important aspect for me in this context, because I frequently hear about DevOps engineers or DevOps department or DevOps tools. That's not the way that I think about DevOps. So I really stick to these 3 core principles, a pretty simple model from the DevOps handbook by Gene Kim, so the yellow book. It comprises just of 3 ways. And we will visit all 3 ways across this presentation. And we start with the first way, to apply systems thinking. So to get rid of the fences between the gardens, to understand the whole system in which development and deployment and work needs to be done, and to optimize this way very much. So to have a fast flow of work and to do everything to have this fast flow. So what did we do? In the first hand, we created product teams in our organization. Also no concept invented by us, of course. So product teams comprising of planning capabilities, development capabilities, and testing capabilities. So that was the first step that we took. And this allowed us to create smaller batches. So to plan only a small bit of what we wanted to do, to develop this small bit, and then to test this small bit, which made the flow much, much faster. But there's something missing. And this is what we went to next. So how can we then deliver this value continuously? How can we deliver what we did to our customers? And we decided to take the way that we wanted to add operational capabilities to the teams themselves. So we wanted no dedicated departments or no DevOps department, no DevOps engineers or whatsoever. We wanted to have these operational capabilities embedded within the team, collectively. So there's no distinct engineer in the team. The whole team has the capability to run their applications. And in order to allow for this, we created something like a golden path. So we have a lot of teams, they have a lot of applications, and what we wanted to avoid is that we had chaos in the organization. So we wanted to apply the same architectures, the same tools, same technology, same scripts, same frameworks, same meeting structures for all the teams. And doing this using a modern stack, which makes it very easy to build and deploy the software. And one part of the golden path is infrastructure, of course. And talking about infrastructure, the evolution helped us a lot. So when I started at Hermes, we had IBM WebSphere application servers, literally bundled in packages where the CDs were in, you could install it. And then, of course, Kubernetes came up, so the reason why every one of us is here today. And that allowed for a completely new idea of working in regards to DevOps and flow. Because in the old world, with the application servers, you needed to hand over the application to the operating team and let them run your application. So you had the full responsibility within the ops team for the ops specialists. And Kubernetes was one of the first technologies which allowed a split in responsibilities. So it allows the application team to be responsible for the application to whatever degree, and to have a separate responsibility with the orchestrator at the ops team or the cloud provider or wherever you host it. So that's a big improvement, but of course innovation doesn't stop here. So one new, not so new concept, but one concept is very important for me, and this is this concept. And this drives the idea of the orchestrator even further, in my opinion. So what we use very much is serverless paths. So to get rid of the operational tasks you need for the orchestrator, to give that over to the cloud provider, to have a transparent view on the underlying platform, so we don't see it, and we just having the container and let the container run at the cloud provider. And products we use for that are, for example, Fargate or Cloud Run at Google. And these concepts allow, in my opinion, even more collective ownership within the team, because it allows you to get rid of infrastructure tasks that can be done by someone else in a better way, namely the cloud provider. So that's the way that we move forward here. And another thing we need to get the software into production is, of course, continuous delivery. And the idea of continuous delivery is hidden in this quote. Yeah, if it hurts, do it more often. Carry the pain forward. So deployments in the old time took hours. Checklists, handing over software, doing a first test in the production, then something failed, it needed to be fixed, and log files needed to be analyzed. It took hours. Yeah? Application starting, stopping, environment checks, whatever. And the idea behind continuous delivery is to do this so often as you can do, and by doing that, to optimize it in a way that you have minimum deployment overhead in the end. And because you then can do it more often, you can deploy small batches, so small portions of software only. And these small batches, in turn, allow you to ease testing because there was just a little change applied. And you have little risk because only a little change. And you can control the risk because you have an overview of what changed. And if something should break in production, you know what changed. Yeah, so you can easily find the bug, hunt it down, and fix it forward. So continuous delivery is a very important concept that we applied. And speaking about continuous delivery, something we need to discuss here are pipelines, of course. So I had the golden path some minutes ago. And with applications nowadays comprising of dozens or manifold microservices, you have as many pipelines, of course, in your applications. So we have hundreds or thousands of deployment pipelines at Hermes, and we need structures for these deployment pipelines. Because without structures, it would just be chaos. And with this golden path that we have, we defined the elements of the pipeline. We saw it in earlier presentations already. Yeah? We have integrated code quality, like at the Allianz presentation, we saw it just some minutes ago. We have integrated security scanning. We have something like change documentation to be compliant. And this is done by every team in a similar manner. So it's not one pipeline, of course. So it's more best practice collection, and then the tools are provided. But every team does it in a similar manner. And one thing which now gets more interesting is pipeline efficiency. Because what you see is the more tools you add to the pipelines, the slower it gets. And we have some pipelines are running 1 hour because they are doing some front-end tests. And it's no problem. I mean, the software is running in production. It's fine. The pipeline runs in the background. But you have one problem. If your pipeline runs 1 hour, you get slow feedback. Yeah, so when the software then is finally live, you're thinking of completely different things. You're not in the topic of the change anymore that was just recently deployed. And so that's a new topic for us. So pipeline efficiency, to make the pipelines run as fast as possible, to allow, in the case of errors, to allow for faster bug detection and fixing. Speaking about bugs or understanding what your application does in production, another concept is very important for me, which I call feeling the heartbeat. And that is a part of the second way. In the second way of the DevOps principles, they talk about feedback loops. So to learn what your application does in production, to learn if the customers like it, to learn how the technology behaves, but also learn how your processes are optimized. So like the pipeline example I just had. And then to continuously optimize according to the feedback that you received. And one part of this feedback is observability. And with observability, I'm not talking about technical observability, which we, of course, also have in our environment. What I mean is observability of business metrics. And I push my teams that every team has like 3 to 5 business metrics to understand the impact of their code, the impact of their change for the customer. And it can be very simple. It can be how many orders do we have? How many orders from Germany do we have? How many orders from Europe do we have? How many customer complaints are entered into the system? How many track and trace calls do we have? So pretty simple, but it lets the people feel the heartbeat of the application. It lets the teams understand the impact of what they do. And this is, for me, an important basis to create ownership. Yeah, so when I understand what my change does for a customer, I feel responsible for what I do. I feel even more responsible for what I do. And also, this kind of visibility allows for fast incident response. So of course, we need all the technical metrics as well. But if I, as an engineer, see that the orders are going down to 0, it's almost clear that we have a technical problem. So even the business metrics give a good indication of technical things. And observability is also part of our golden path. So logs and tracing and metrics are used in every team. And the dashboards we create are shared across the entire organization, so that even also the neighbor teams have visibility of what's going on in my application. And they can do a quick check if they see something's going wrong on their side of the interface, maybe. And the result of this is that we have ownership, that the people really feel like owners from the first commit to the user experience. And the third way, it's the most difficult way, in my opinion, is the culture of continual experimentation and learning. So we have a certain state achieved in our organization or in your organization, but we want to improve. And in order to improve, we need to learn, but we also need to take experiments. Experiment means that I take away which can be wrong. So investment, which is just wasted, if you would ask someone from the business. But we need to do it in order to improve further. And in order to be able to do this, we need trust. And I want to talk with you about trust at 3 levels today. Because we need trust within the team, we need trust between the teams, and we need trust at the organizational level. And this is a learning from me that in order to implement this type of organization, these ways of working, it's not sufficient just to deliver some tools or apply some principles. You need these cultural values in your organization as well. And we need support from all levels. So obviously the top 2 levels are more tech levels, but we also need support from the business level, from the entire organization to understand what we are doing, why we are doing it, and to support the learning and the improvements. Let's take a quick look. So first level is trust within the team. So as I just mentioned, the engineers own the code, they own the pipelines, they own the production. And every team has all capabilities to own their products end to end. Yeah, so they are trained. They are every team has like a T or comp-shamed a set of people. So overlapping experience, overlapping capabilities. So they are confident that they can do what they need to do, let it be in development or in production. And speaking about continuous delivery, we give teams the autonomy to deploy software whenever they are ready. Even maybe on a Friday afternoon if they like to. And another important thing is that mistakes, so problems that are arising, are not hidden within the team, but they are actively shared. Because every team needs to understand that the neighbor team can have the same problem or can run into the same problem in the future. And what we want to do is we want to avoid this by sharing what went wrong. And the next level is between teams. So within the technological organization, we of course need trust between teams if they need to collaborate. And collaboration in technical terms are called APIs. So we have contracts in place to secure that changes are not breaking the usage of an API. We use versioning, of course, and we document as much as possible. concerning the APIs. But what we also do is we created shared planning cycles. So every 3 sprints, we are meeting collectively in the entire organization and talking about what needs to be done in the next 3 sprints. What one team needs from the other team, so collective planning really, to talk about dependencies. And this is a ritual we created which eases collaboration between teams a lot and avoids surprises, of course, that someone needs something from another team which they were not able to plan. And along with this, of course, we have early communication of breaking changes. So whenever something changes fundamentally in an interface or an application, a behavior, these shared planning cycles are the meetings where people can talk about that. That was easy. That was just the tech organization. But we also need the organizational level. And maybe to give a quick example of what I'm talking about, as you can imagine, our peak season is Christmas. Yeah, so from beginning of November to the end of December, we have 100, 110, 120% capacity because everyone wants to send and receive parcels for Christmas. And what the company usually does is that they freeze everything possible. Yeah, so that no changes are brought into production because, of course, every change comes with risk. And that was right with the big batches. Yeah, so when I introduce a big change into production, it's a big risk. But with the scenario we are now talking about, where we are bringing just small batches into production, we can exactly control the risk. Yeah, we can see what happens in production with this small change. So this old tradition of a frozen zone is not really valid anymore. Yeah, but of course, yeah, if you collect multiple small batches, deploy them together, they are again a big change. Of course, yeah. So what we need to do is we need to negotiate. Yeah, we as a tech organization. So what is still valid to deploy during this peak season, this frozen zone, and what do we pause until January? And this is something which is discussed every year between tech and business. Every year we have a slightly different result. But we really need this discussion, and we need this understanding, in this case of continuous delivery, from the business. And we need to, what I wrote here down, yeah, the business needs to understand the technological possibilities and the circumstances that we create. And another thing which is important, we need transparency. Transparency about costs, about performance, about outages, also within the business or for the business. Yeah, so we need to create confidence for the leaders of the business that the measures that we take are helpful for the company. And talking about compliance, continuous quality control and security scans, of course, help to be compliant. Yeah, help also the business to demonstrate that we are compliant as a company. So it's another important area which is often overseen or overlooked. All in all, it requires much work to get this kind of trust. But if you have this trust in place, you can even solve difficult situations together. To summarize, we took our way from a walled garden to a golden path. We went from silos to ownership. And I strongly believe that velocity is born from this ownership. So only if I feel that I'm owning something, I take care to optimize it as much as I can. And I strongly believe that DevOps is no technical thing that is done somewhere down in the machine room or in the IT organizations. And I strongly believe that it needs an understanding of the entire organization to really make it a success. And to make that, we need trust, and trust is built through transparency. And with this, I'd like to conclude. So the essence of DevOps in 2025, so engineering excellence is important, and we need organizational confidence. Thanks a lot.
First one is about the golden path, and why do you think the meeting structures are important for a good golden path?
Yeah, so it's a bit the other way around. So they are not important for the golden path, but the golden path contains some meeting structures. So a very simple example, we have a cloud competence center, and every week on a Tuesday, they do a kind of an all-hands meeting where experts meet and discuss things. Yeah, so it's like in the agile arena, we create some rituals that we need, or that we feel that we need, and that is part of our golden path. So it's not mandatory to go there. People just go there because it helps. And for me, that's an important aspect to incorporate that as well.
Thank you. There was a question I wanted to highlight before. It was at the top for a longer time. It's about the serverless or somebody else doing the low-level operations, and if your company is aware of the cost and lock-in effects about that.
Yeah. Very, very good question. I mean, the first one was very good as well, but this is a very, very important thing, of course. Yeah. To track it down. So it's pretty cost efficient. I cannot name the numbers, but we have teams migrating from Kubernetes to serverless paths, and we don't see any cost increase. So the opposite is the truth, because you get rid of all the overhead stuff in the infrastructure, and you don't need to pay it. Do not need to pay it anymore. So it's pretty cost efficient. Lock-in effects, yes, of course, we have that, but we are still speaking about containers. Yeah, so we have still the same level of abstraction, and we have teams migrating from one cloud provider to the other, and it's possible. So it's no big deal to do that. It requires some work, of course. Yeah, so it's not just the shifting, but it just takes a couple of months. So it's no big thing. So lock-in effect, yes, we understand that there is some lock-in effect, but we are sure we can handle it. Yeah.
The next question is a very important one as well. I think many companies have a problem with that. How do you convince your management that DevOps or such topics as DevOps in IT is important, and how can you get the support you need for that?
I just barely hear.
That's the first
one, right?
That's the first question, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
How do you just convince your management about the DevOps topics, that they are important, and get supported by the company for your side?
Yeah. So success stories. It's basically success stories. So we can prove that we are much faster. We had one project in the old world which took 9 months, and a pretty similar project in the new world took 3 months. Yeah, and we can prove that it is successful. We show that. We explain it to the business on a more abstract level, of course. We can show that observability thing. So we have business people regularly looking at Grafana dashboards showing cloud monitoring information. That's happening. That's possible, and that helps us or to let the business people understand what we are doing and why we are doing it.
Thank you. That's a good answer. That's true. How do you get the classic IT at this place? I think about administrators and developers on board with DevSecOps or DevOps principles.
Yeah. So for the developers, it was really pretty straightforward. So maybe we were lucky, but in our environment, the developers were rather pushing this model and wanted to be responsible and own their applications. So that was really pretty easy. What was a bit more difficult, of course, is to be responsible for production. That requires some training, some confidence, but it didn't require more than that. So it also went pretty smooth.
Thank you, Anna. I think we can maybe have 2 more questions. I don't know if it's okay for you. Does the golden path also enforce choice of tooling and programming language, or are the teams free to choose?
Yeah, so some toolings, at least the tools that you need to license, are bought centrally and then hopefully used by every team. Additional tooling can always be chosen by the team. Concerning programming languages, I'm a bit more conservative. And who saw the presentation of Kelsey, I really feel also, I fear the single guy doing the Rust service and then leaving. So I'm pretty restrictive in my department concerning programming languages, or pretty defensive. And I think still Java offers a lot, at least the recent versions offer a lot that delights developers. So I see little reason to change. And talking about Go, talking about Rust, I understand that these are very interesting programming languages. And maybe I'm trying them myself, but I mean, I've spare time to do that. So maybe I don't have to try that at work. So that's my opinion concerning these modern languages.
Last question. Can you justify using platform as a service when you need to honor service level agreements where even short outages of the platform provider really hurt you financially?
Yeah. We had some smaller outages with Cloud Run when Cloud Run was really young. So at least in the last 2 years, we did not have any outage anymore because of the underlying platform, at least none that I'm aware of. So it's pretty stable. Google is putting, and Amazon as well, they are putting a lot of work so that these PaaS platforms are stable. So I'm seeing very little of that. But we can discuss it afterwards if you like, if you have some observations that I don't see, maybe.
That's true. I mean, we have a few more questions, so maybe reach out to Stephan when he has time after this talk, maybe, or tomorrow, or on Thursday, whenever you have time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
From ContainerDays Hamburg, this video is proudly presented by DAX IT.